More than 3 million Americans have filed for unemployment benefits for the first time just last week because of the mass job layoffs. Many also lost their health insurance. Medicare for All would have prevented these kind of disruptions in healthcare coverage. Your plan would preserve employer-based healthcare. I'm wondering, in a case like this, is your plan better than Medicare for All?
Yes, number one, it would be available to everyone. And we provide, the plan I have provides an option, a Medicare option, a public option for Medicare. If you can't afford the health care you had, or you lose it because your employer, you're automatically covered if you'd qualify for Medicaid. And so you would be covered. It can get passed, and it's affordable. It costs a lot of money, but it doesn't cost $35 trillion over 10 years. It costs close to $1 billion. And so my point is that it's the quickest way.
You know, I find it really outrageous that neoliberals like Joe Biden, and it's not just Joe Biden, are out here smearing Medicare for All right now during a time of a global health pandemic. That even now, during this global pandemic, neoliberals are out here saying, oh, well, we can't provide health care for everyone. We can't ensure free treatment for everyone because that would go too far. You know, the thing that they always told us, the thing that they always said to you, they'd always turn around and say, well, hold on, guys, we agree with you in principle. We believe in your ideas in principle in the abstract. We just don't think that it's politically feasible. We just don't think that we have the political capital or the ability to get it done. First of all, my response to that is, well, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't fight for the things that you actually believe in, so then we can, start moving things. That's always my response. But I hear that. That's their criticism. They say, well, I agree with you. I just don't think we can actually get that done. So the best we can do is push for a half measure and hope that that actually gets done, because we don't want to say something and then not actually get the thing done that we wanted, because that would be way too bad, right? That's what they always say to you. But they can't even, during a time of crisis, muster up the courage to fight for the thing that they supposedly believe in, to actually fight for universal coverage, universal healthcare for everybody. They can't even pretend to do it. They're not even going there at all. And by the way, best case scenario, Joe Biden's plan leaves 10 million people uninsured. 10 million people, best case scenario. And I want to show you guys real quick why this is actually such a big problem right now, especially when we're dealing with an economic crisis related to a global pandemic. So Mehdi Hassan tweeted this out earlier today, and he said, everyone should have healthcare even when they don't have a job, even when there isn't a pandemic. That's the tweet. And then down here, I saw this when this tweet came out, and it's just terrifyingly sad, and he's not the only one. Just laid off this morning, no healthcare in the middle of a global pandemic, nothing more to say. I mean, that's really, really sad. Doug Stewart, obviously, I don't know you, but I wish you the best, man. I mean, I don't know what else to do. I really don't. What else is there to do? And it wasn't just him. This is a terrible, terrible story that came out today. Young teenage boy, 17-year-old, otherwise healthy, with no underlying health conditions, died. Why? Because he didn't have health care, and so, see, right here, they didn't have insurance, and so they did not treat him. And so then he died. He died from COVID-19. Completely unacceptable, completely outrageous that in the wealthiest country in the world, the country that is supposedly the greatest country in the world, we can't guarantee health care to everybody when every other major developed country does it. Why? Why? Why do we pay way more than everybody else? It's completely outrageous. It's completely unfair. And these neoliberals claim to agree with us. But what do they say? They say Medicare for all who want it. They say we're trying to give you choice. We want to give you freedom so that you can choose which insurance company screws you over. It's not freedom. It's not choice. To be able to choose who screws you over, that's not freedom. That's not choice. That's not what it is. So the other thing I want to just show you real quick is this right here. So U.S. weekly jobless claims spike to a record 3.3 million. And if you're like 3.3 million, well, I know that's a lot, but let's see it in context. This is the graph. So this is 1967, guys. So this goes really, really far back. So this is unemployment claims. So, there's some spikes. Woo. All the way up here in a matter of days. Guys, we have never seen anything like this in the history of this country. And so we can't have a situation where a crisis of unemployment turns into a crisis of healthcare. During a time of a global pandemic, you know what it calls for? It calls for leadership. It calls for guts. It calls for standing up and, saying, you know what? That's it. We're going to guarantee healthcare to everyone. Because you know what I would respect Joe Biden for? If Joe Biden came out and said, you know what, Bernie, I don't agree with you on Medicare for all entirely. But here's what I do think. During a time of a crisis, during a time of a global pandemic, I think we should temporarily provide universal health care. Now, I would disagree because I think that in any case, in any instance, whether it's for cancer, et cetera, we should provide universal health care. But you know what? I would actually respect Joe Biden for that. If he came out and he said, you know what, right now, I agree with you, Bernie, temporarily Medicare for all. I would at least respect that. But he doesn't have the nerve to do that. Instead, what does he do? He comes out and lies about the price of Medicare for all. He lies about the price of his own plan, claiming that it's like $1 billion or something, which is not true. Some estimates have that the overall cost of Joe Biden's system would actually be more expensive than Medicare for all. So he lies about his system and claims that it would be better during a time of a pandemic. Better to have still a system which is in place, which connects healthcare to employment. Completely outrageous, completely disgusting. We are seeing so many people losing their jobs, going on unemployment, who are now losing their healthcare. During a time when we need everyone to have healthcare, we need everyone to cooperate with healthcare guidelines, because if they get sick, they need to go to the doctor. Otherwise, they threaten to get everyone else sick, which, by the way, if the longer this thing lasts, the more economic damage results overall. And so to see this utter lack of leadership, this utter lack of guts, that's what it is. A lack of guts, a lack of leadership, a lack of bravery, quite frankly, coming from Joe Biden is really a shameful thing to see. It's disgusting, actually. We need a lot better from you. I expect better from you. And by the way, this town hall was a complete softball. There was a question asking him, Joe Biden. He was like, well, given your time as a longtime leader of the free world, tell us a little bit about what it means to be a leader. What kind of softball question is that? When Joe Biden, you were just credibly accused of sexual assault, penetrating a woman without her permission. That wasn't brought up at all. Instead, you're given complete softballs. And that question that you saw at the beginning from Anderson Cooper was arguably the toughest question of that entire interview. And quite frankly, Anderson Cooper, I agree that that question was a good question, but he didn't hold Joe Biden's feet to the fire. He didn't push back on Joe Biden at all. Instead, Anderson Cooper just let Joe Biden get away with the lies, get away with the nonsense, and make completely ridiculous claims. So, anyway, I'm done with Joe Biden. That's all I have to say. So if you like this video, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the like button and consider subscribing. Thanks.